Hello, I hope your new year. It's not really a new year anymore now, is it? It's well into January 2023, almost into February. And I hope the year is kicking off well for you. I hope you've got lots of stuff on the go and underway and you're feeling like your energy is really in the right place. I've been taking it really, really slowly in my business over these last few weeks, and that's been really great. And I say taking it slowly, meaning I've just not been going full pelt with the usual things like the podcast. You may have noticed I've been pulling back a little bit there, and with things like social media marketing as well, and showing up there. And I've really taken a lot of time just to step back and sit with things really and get analytical and really think about the bigger mission and vision for the future for me and how everything that I'm doing right now ties in with that. And it's been really nice. So I've wanted to kind of embrace this feeling of slowness moving into 2023. That was one of my key objectives this year, was to be really slow and intentional in everything I do, while still leaving a bit of room for spontaneity. You know, girl of contrasts me. But just to not get so busy and so tied up in lots of different projects, and just bring it back to a very minimal amount that feels really manageable and like I can really flesh them out before I launch and go full tilt into them. So I've really been doing that, and that's been feeling really, really, really good. It's led to a whole new stream of creativity, which has been amazing. And one of the ways I've done this, actually, and one of the ways I've focused on being slower in my business, has been to restrict how much I'm showing up on social media. I talked about pulling back from that, and I've actually given myself a time limit and adjusted the settings so that I have a cut-off limit on both Facebook and LinkedIn every day. And I've just set that to 30 minutes so that I know I can go on there and have a good chat with people and do a good bit of useful interaction and share what I need to share. But I won't be going on there and getting pulled in all the different directions and find myself losing lots of time on there. And it's also, I've found actually it's really, really helped me not to do that thing where I'm just checking in because I'm checking in, which I notice that for me can be quite a big problem. And it's one of the first indicators to me that I'm starting to feel a little bit overwhelmed by business and life, and it's really, really helped me to pull back from doing that and be more intentional and be more present in my life outside of work as well, which has been really, really nice and so important to do that. And just going off on a total tangent here, aren't I? But it's been great, and I've been super creative, coming up with lots of new ideas for things, and I have some new ideas which I think I'm going to share with you very soon. They're just kind of in the fleshing out stages at the moment, but yeah, really, really excited for what is to come later this year. Anyhow, today I wanted to dive on and just talk to you about what to do if you are not feeling like you can move forward at the moment. So if you're feeling a bit like you are stuck in a way, or overwhelmed, or you just don't quite know where to go with things as the year unfolds. And this is just a little exercise you can use when you are feeling a bit overwhelmed by all the things, or when you're feeling like your brain just doesn't want to come unstuck and help you. Now, over the last couple of years, life has been interesting and challenging, and it's been really, really hard for our poor minds, our poor brains to cope with all the stuff that has come our way. So we've had, not only a pandemic, we've had global unrest, we've had economic turmoil. And if you're living in the UK, we've had things like Brexit and all sorts of political disasters to contend with as well. And it's just been one thing after the next. And for a lot of people, that has left them in this state of not knowing where to turn, not feeling confident in making decisions because they don't know what's happening next. And it's been stressful and hard, and it's made a lot of people who were previously quite decisive and confident feel anxious or uncertain about which way to turn. It's been pretty traumatic in many ways, and collective anxiety has been huge. That's been really skyrocketing. And for many people, it has been a case of, our radar is tuned to what's going to happen next. We're not able to focus on what we should do in the present moment and how to make things work right now because we're feeling constantly under threat. It's not been easy. It's left a lot of people feeling paralysed, feeling like they can't make clear decisions, and they're worried about getting it wrong, and they're kind of left in limbo and doubt and indecision. And it's been hard to pull back and get that clarity. And I think it's also driving a lot of overworking and just keeping going because we're afraid of stopping and afraid of dropping the ball and losing clients and things like that. So I wanted to give you a little 3-step system today, or 3 choices system, to help you out of that. The thing is, when we feel like we're in limbo and we feel like we're powerless over our situation and the world around us and all the stuff that's happening, we then tend to lose our sense of control, which unfortunately doesn't help us in the face of all the struggle and all the stress and all the things that are going on. It kind of adds to it and compounds it. So it becomes harder to make logical, rational decisions and harder to find our way forward. So we kind of need sometimes just a little reminder of our choices, and perhaps a little reminder that things aren't always as set in stone as they might seem. So yeah, the 3 choices essentially can help you find your way out of that. And I say 3 choices. 2 of them are choices that will help you to move forward and get back in control. One choice is, it might not feel like a choice, but it is a choice. It's the choice to do nothing. So we often make that choice because it feels like doing anything else is risky and difficult, and we just don't feel like we can go there. And that's because when we are feeling stuck, when we're feeling under threat and our brain is in anxiety mode, it likes to tell us that everything we do, other than doing nothing, has the potential for disaster. So it's not that there is real potential for disaster in everything, or if there is potential there, maybe it's actually much smaller than we imagine. But our brain ramps up this feeling of impending doom and potential disaster to keep us stuck and to keep us doing nothing. So when we're doing nothing, when we're making that choice, we'll be stuck in those narratives like, what if this happens, what if that happens, and I can't, because, so I can't take on any employees because I can't do this, I can't do that. These narratives, they are the voice of our emotional mind. They're the voice of our primitive panic brain persuading us to stay stuck, persuading us to make that choice. And it might not feel like we have much of a choice because it's very persuasive, it's very powerful. But recognizing that is something that we can choose to move away from, that we can choose instead to step into rational control, can really help just bring us out of that state and say, okay, so what are my choice is. So the second choice, rather than doing nothing, the second choice is the choice of decision. And that feels obvious. So it's to decide to take action, to decide to do something different. Now, we often think of decisions as being massive, scary, committing things. And that in itself can prevent us from making a decision. It can feel just too overwhelming to go there and to make that decision. But I'd like you to think of decisions as, firstly, they can be tiny. So they don't have to be drastic. They can be not much at all. And it doesn't even have to be a decision to take action that solves the whole problem. Often we think it's got to be all or nothing. We've got to find a way to fix this thing or not. And so we'll choose not because it's just too much. So often a small, simple action that just gets the ball rolling and just opens some doors for us is enough to help us regain that sense of control and to feel that bit more powerful and influential in our lives, which brings down that anxiety, which helps us to feel like we are more in control. The other thing about decisions is we often see them as very finite. So we made that decision, that's the choice we've taken, there's no going back. That's very rarely the case, really. That's very rarely the true story. So usually when we make a decision, we can totally change our minds. We can totally go back. So if we see that, for example, something's not worked out, we've tried, I don't know, a new marketing direction, a new ideal client perhaps, then if we decide in a couple of weeks' time or a couple of months, if we're being careful to check in with our stats and see where they're going, we can absolutely change our minds and pivot in a different direction and try something different again. So no decision is absolutely permanent. So the choice of decision, that is your second choice. Do something small, do something and leave the door open to that not being the be all and end all, but make that decision to take some action that is going to help you take back that sense of control. The third option, sometimes there's just no obvious action that can be taken and you might feel really at the mercy of current circumstances, and doing nothing might genuinely seem to be the only realistic option. It might feel like the only thing you can do, at least for now, until things change. And that absolutely can be the case with tricky relationships, with business choices, with career choices. Sometimes the better thing to do is to not take action, which in itself is a positive decision. However, the third point, the third choice, is to bring in acceptance into that decision to do nothing, so that it's not just do nothing, but it's a positive choice to do nothing. It's an acceptance that things can't change. But what I'm not going to do is get myself lost in worrying about this thing that can't change. What I'm going to do is accept and allow myself to focus on other things that are going to help me instead. So it's an emotional choice rather than a physical choice. It's a choice of opting out of stress through accepting and deciding to channel that energy instead into things that are going to help you move forward. So that can be in itself a really powerful decision, even though nothing changes physically. Just moving into that acceptance, moving into trusting that you can leave this thing alone and focus on other things, and that is going to help you feel better and find your way out of this when the time is right. So that is also a really powerful decision to make. And I think we often worry that by being seen to do nothing, or by just lying down and taking it, that we're being somehow weak. I would say, on the contrary, I think that a mind that can accept that things are difficult and circumstances are challenging and decide that that's okay and they're going to move on in spite of that, or maybe cope with difficult people and just allow the emotional load to bounce off. I think a mind that can do that and can make a decision to live with those struggles and not allow them to be a huge weight on their shoulders is enormously strong and powerful. And in a way, that is the best kind of freedom to have, is to be able to cope with whatever's going on in your life, whatever's going on right now, whatever the circumstances may be, but to, amongst all that, be able to keep a clear mind, be able to be free from the stress, the worry that might be associated with these things. And that kind of mind is powerful because it can still use its best resources and its energy to create whatever it chooses when the time is right, or to create new things while circumstances in the physical world are different. So next time you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed or stuck, those are 3 choices I would like you to have a think about and lean into and decide which one is right for you. And maybe a really good question to just help you in that decision-making process, if you're feeling really stuck, is just to ask yourself, okay, in this present situation, this is how things are. Can I do anything about it? Yes or no? Is there any small way I can move forward? And does this need to weigh me down? If not. So I'll leave that thought with you today. I think hopefully that is going to be really helpful to you if you're feeling a bit that way at the moment. And I would really love to know, of course, if you've found that helpful and if you've been able to apply it to anything in your life or business. So just reach out if so. See you soon. Take care.